eventually someone is going to be able to, so it's not like 20 people are trying to call my cell phone to where there's only one line. We've got multiple consoles that each have a 911, the ability to go to it. We have bad crashes on the freeway. We have 15 people calling 911. We have all of our dispatchers are answering 911 calls at that time. Unfortunately, some people might get a hold call, but if that's the case, keep going until you can get through. Because what it does too is you're providing information. Hi, my name is Mr. Haas. I have 15 middle schoolers, 6th graders in my classroom. My classroom is number 209. I hear shots being fired. I'm barricading myself in my classroom. More often than not, like that's an ideal world, right? More often than not, you're gonna be like, there's someone shooting at Divine Savior. Dispatch says, yep, I know, shelter, or do whatever you have to do. And then they're gonna hang up the phone, they're gonna take the next call because our dispatchers have a million different things they're doing. They're dispatching every single law enforcement officer that's on duty to this school. They're contacting the fire department,
It'll be very difficult
Yes.
to jam the 911 line.
correct, yeah. That was a very
There's
short
only
answer.
6 councils with 2 or 3 lines per, so you would have to really, there would have to be 2 emergencies going on in the county at the same time.
I mean, we've handled
some.
how many natural
Yeah.
disasters, you know, like tornadoes and stuff with just one dispatcher and a bunch of jailers running up to dispatch to help answer phones. It's very well covered, so. But then, you know, the other thing too is with the wave system that you guys have here, you guys heard it. I don't know if you could hear my radio, I tried to turn it up. So that as it's going off here in the building, it's also going off on, you know, my radio. And then, you know, it gave the school name, it gave the street address, it gave the village of Fredonia, and it actually gave second floor, this room number. So, the other thing is that with our dispatch center, we have what's called an emergency IP address for your camera system, so that in an emergency, dispatch can then bring up those cameras, and then they can monitor real time the camera system as well. So we're getting a ton of information. You know, when you guys call 911, the information that we want from you guys is, if it's a known subject, say who it is. If you don't know who the subject is, but you know what he's wearing, say what he's wearing. We don't expect anybody to be weapons experts. We only need to know 2 types of guns, you know? So there's 2 types of guns. One is a handgun, which means it's small and it's fired from a hand, one hand, or it's a long gun. When we say long gun, it's shoulder fired and you need 2 hands to fire it. So those are the only 2 kinds of guns that we need. If dispatchers ask you a question and you don't know the answer, say you don't know the answer, you know, you don't need stuff to be made up. But, you know, tell us what you know and answer any questions that you can after that.
I would go one further too. If you guys call up and say Bill Murray's in the school with a gun, Bill Murray might be familiar to you guys. Me coming here, I have no clue who Bill Murray is. So Bill Murray's wearing a red baseball hat, blue jeans, and a black sweatshirt, and he's actively shooting in here. So, I mean, how many people do we hear their names on and we're like, oh, that's a problem child or something like that?
Yeah.
The newer patrol deputies, or even myself, who's kind of removed from the patrol function, I might not be up to date on what the newest problem child looks like, and I might not be able to pick them out of a crowd, that kind of thing. So again, if you guys know who it is, absolutely give us a name 100%. But then we also need a description for that Mequon police officer who's coming up here for, you know, Saukville, Port Washington, Thiensville, because once that alarm system gets triggered, that gets dispatched or broadcasted over every single squad car, whether it's Mequon, Thiensville, Cedarburg. It's gonna be all hands on deck. It's gonna be flying up here.
Washington County, Sheboygan County, Milwaukee County, Bayside, River Hills. You know, Ozaki Net is the channel or the frequency that it gets broadcasted over. So like Matt said, everybody listens to it. So if we need help or we need to get information, let's say we're in a high-speed chase and we gotta call Bayside, it's over Ozaki Net. If we got a high-speed chase on 60 going west into Jackson, Washington County, it's over the net. You know, same thing going north, Random Lake going into, you know, we need Washington County or Sheboygan County, it's over the net. So everybody monitors that particular channel, so.
Does anyone have any questions about like law enforcement response or anything that we kind of covered in this presentation today?
I would say too, like if you're worried that the intruder is close by and you don't wanna make any noise, you're trying to keep everybody quiet, you could still dial 911 and just leave the line open. It's gonna plot here. You know, or we're getting this 911 call at this school, so that almost kind of verifies what we have going on there. They
Even
might
with an
hear-
open
they might
line,
hear
they're
the
gonna
Alice
hear,
alarm going off.
they're gonna hear noise in the classroom. They're gonna,
Right.
the dispatcher will be able to describe, I'm hearing something going on in the classroom, I can hear
Right.
4 separate people.
911 open line call here is not a big deal. You get 9 or 10 all
Right.
plotting to Divine Savior. That's gonna raise some red flags for us. If no one else has any other questions, what I think we're gonna do is give you guys like a 10 or 15 minute break. We're gonna pick a classroom. You guys are small enough that we're all just gonna do one big group. We're gonna go to a classroom. Nick Santino and I are gonna show you guys how to barricade an open swinging door and an inward swinging door. And then once you guys feel comfortable doing that with what you guys have available to you, we're gonna do 2 scenarios. I will give a disclaimer before we do the scenarios. Again, trauma-informed approach. If for whatever reason you guys do not want to participate in the scenario, let me know, let Nick know, let Santino know, and we'll just let you watch, be an observer instead of an actual participant. I'm not saying that we're going to be going hands-on. When I say hands-on, you're not gonna be swarming me or another teacher or anything like that. It's just to reinforce that what I've been rambling on about for the last 45 minutes actually does work. So take 10 or 15, come back in here, we're gonna find some doors and we'll go from there. Is that cool?
If you guys are good with it, take 10 so we can power through.
Yeah.
And,
So that means 7, and then 3.
Bye.
Go
Go off the window.